Hi, my name is Marion Hurley, recently elected, newly appointed as local candidate here in the city. But I have a particular interest in this whole cooperative thing. My father was a farmer years back, and he was involved in an agricultural co-op, so I saw how it worked from way back. But just two questions really, Anne, and they are: how do you screen people? I mean, how do you avoid people coming in who might have a criminal background, for example, or who are sort of who might be very quick to take produce and without payment or whatever? And the other is, how do you handle waste? I'm sure you must have quite a bit of wastage as well, or do you?
Okay. Well, I'll take the easier one first, which is waste. We don't have a lot of waste. If you're talking about food waste, we think of food waste in two ways. One is if it is still edible food, but not sellable. So, I don't know. I'm trying to think. The banana has too many brown spots on it or something. We give that away to soup kitchens. 6 days a week, soup kitchens come to the co-op and take away, because soup kitchens, one thing they don't often have is fresh food. They often have canned or dried foods, but they don't have fresh. So our food waste that is still edible goes to soup kitchens. Our food waste, and I wouldn't even call that waste, it's just food that's not sellable, but it's very edible. Our food that is actually waste, our fresh food, our produce, we compost. We have a very large composting program. We collect it in compost buckets, and then using member labor, we give it to community gardens around Brooklyn. And because they don't have food waste to put into they have a lot of brown waste, but not food waste. So that's the way we get. So we actually have very little food that goes into the trash. We recycle all our internal plastic, so I don't know how many of you are familiar with how a pallet's delivered to you now, but a pallet of boxes will be wrapped in that plastic wrap to keep it on the pallet. Well, all of that kind of plastic wrap will be recycled. So internally, we recycle a lot of that. All of our cardboard gets recycled. Cardboard's very valuable now, so it's about $150 a bale. So we bale our cardboard, and our waste hauler takes it away for us in exchange for not charging us for any garbage collection that they do. So actually, the business itself doesn't generate a lot of waste, luckily. And we try internally to have internal practices that discourage people from creating their own waste, but that's not been, I mean, we've had the soup kitchen program since 1975. So we've very early on realized that you needed very sellable, edible food needs to go to someone. It shouldn't ever be put in the garbage. I can't stress it enough. If that food is edible, get it to someone who needs food. And soup kitchens for us are running because they're cooking meals every day for people in the city in Brooklyn.
And the other question, Anne, the other part of that, if I may?
So the other part was about theft. No, we don't screen anyone. We go on the principle that you're a member. We're not going to be suspicious of you before you join. We have no reason to be suspicious of you. But we have, that is one of the paid staff things that unfortunately we have to do, which is internal controls, theft control. It's not the most pleasant part of my job or anyone else's job. We do not, we never confront anyone in the store. We watch people, we see what they're doing. We will, given enough evidence, confront them privately, not again in the store. It's never our intention to embarrass anyone inside the store, though if the final time, if we're ready to talk to them and they come in and they do the same thing, we wait till they leave the store, then we confront them out in front. Police have told us that it's not theft until someone actually leaves your building. So you have to wait till they leave. But we do it. It's people, one or two people can cause tremendous amount of financial damage. You have to be aware of it. You can't be naive about it. It's sad. It's that a person would join a co-op, and some people obviously join and quickly decide that they're going to steal. But I don't think my philosophy about that is that they didn't decide to become a thief when they joined the co-op. They were a thief somewhere else in their lives, and this is just we're just another one of their victims. So what? They get kicked out of the co-op. They'll find another grocery store. They'll find a Target, whatever, a Best Buy. They'll still,
And on that, could you mention briefly the induction that we were talking about last night? That the process by which you become a member.
Right. So, and this isn't a screening, but so in order to become a member of the co-op, you have to sign up and go to orientation. You can't just walk in. We've had orientations probably for, I don't know, close to 40 years. It's a way in which, because we're a member labor co-op, because we're going to ask them to contribute their labor, you should let people know from the beginning. And you should inform them in an orientation kind of situation. That's what we do. So they come, a member runs the orientation, they go over about how the co-op runs, what will be asked of you to do, they take a tour of the co-op, they get to ask all sorts of questions of the person leading the orientation, and then they know they can decide then to join. We have always at the end of orientation someone can join. We have members there to help them join. Or if they're not ready, they can go away. Or they can just say, well, now I found out about it and it's not for me. But they find out about it before they join, It's a way of just, we educate people about what we do, and it's the simplest way to sort of bring in a bunch of people. We do it 3 times a week now. So we used to do it 4. We do it 3 times a week.
Okay, anybody else?
Hi, Ann. I'm Jodie Fitzpatrick. I'm one of the members. Just a quick question. On the membership, you said it was $100, a life membership, and then for anybody who was on benefits, they had $10. Suppose that person pays the $10 and 6 months or 6 years down the line they get a job. Do you ask them to pay the rest of it, or do people kind of maybe voluntarily decide, I'd now like to be able to pay that?
We do ask them. Now we ask them. We didn't ask them for years, and it was just something. And one of the staff members who does the bookkeeping, and that's part of her job, is what we call these reduced plans. She said, well, we should make people verify, because someone could have joined 20 years ago, and they only put in $10. So we just do it on a rotation. So many people per year get a letter that basically says, please reconfirm your status, your income status. And if you're no longer on an income-based assistance, you'll have to up it to the $100, but there's payment plans for you to do that. So we have handled it that way.
Hello, Ann.
Hi.
This is Robin. I'm a relatively new member of LCG. I'm also passionate about organic fruit and vegetable growing. My question is, what process does Park Slope use for bringing on a new, or either looking for or bringing on a new supplier?
Okay, so in fruits and vegetables, we don't really need to look very much. They come to us, and unfortunately, we probably can't handle the volume of, we get more requests than we can ever handle. But it goes to the buyer of that department primarily, so that would be a paid staff person, and we have to decide, are they filling a gap for us? Is it helping to supplement something we already get? How are they going to deliver it? How often are they going to deliver it? Because that's really important when we have this very limited receiving loading dock area. We really can't have, we already have a tremendous number of deliveries every day. And so it's not, we don't want to encourage more small farmers to come to us. We also don't want to, we also use it as an educational moment to say you don't want to do this. Because coming into New York City is not easy, and a farmer should not be spending his or her time driving a truck into New York City to deliver some food. That has just driven up their personal costs, so that's why we don't do it. But we sometimes we source through in the local, like sometimes people pitch to us. But sometimes, like recently, we've changed a lot of our meats around, and the person who buys meat now is a trained butcher and has worked with the farmer's market for years, so she knew a lot of people. So we inquire, we go around. But we, you know, I think the hardest part for us now is probably we can't absorb everything that is grown in New York State.
Anybody else?
Thank you. I was just wondering, do you just sell produce like groceries and that to your members? Like, have you ever, like if I went to your shop, can I do a full weekly shop? Like, say, for instance, can I buy, I don't know, say toilet paper?
Yeah, sure.
And what about other produce? Or maybe I missed it, I didn't hear about it. Just say, like, say, you know, say sweaters. You know, people doing handicraft and stuff like that. Do you sell anything on that line?
We don't sell things, well, we do sell socks. We do sell socks. And we sell our own t-shirts, but that would be the only thing in clothing. We do have seasonal items, so we might get stuff in for the, you know, like the Hanukkah, Christmas period. That might be gifty kind of things, but mainly they're like household items. But we don't spend a lot of the shelf space on that. We have, like for example, we've discovered that our members can a lot, so we've actually decided that we need to have more of the canning jars than we typically have, so we decided to devote more shelf space to that in exchange for removing some of the glassware. So that was a way in which we saw that the canning jars were more valuable to people than glassware, so we reduced the amount of glassware in order to accommodate that. But otherwise, like I said, I spend almost 99.99% of my food dollars there. I can get my animals' pet food there. I can get health and, you know, my shampoo, my face stuff. I can get toilet paper, paper towels, cleaning products.
Full service store, Ann. Yep.
Yeah. The only thing I can't get is like a roasted chicken or something like that.
Have I missed somebody up here?
Hi Anne, my name's Alison. I live in a rural village in West Limerick. I'm involved with a group of people who are trying to revamp the village store that closed a couple of years ago. Do you think this model would work for low population? Is there a minimum membership you would kind of suggest?
Yeah, I think, well, I think it works for any size population because you sort of design the store around how many members you have. If it's small, it would be manageable with a much smaller number of people on a daily basis, so you could probably work it out that you could have people staffing the store pretty much all the time with just member labor. The thing that, is this the only store in the village?
At the moment the store's closed. We want
But
to try and
this
reopen
be
it. It would be the only store,
Okay.
yeah.
So the one thing we always say to people is that though we fully want people to embrace our model, if you're the only store and someone for whatever reason can't be a working member, maybe they work 2 jobs, maybe, you know, I mean, if they're elderly or disabled, you could include them, but maybe they just really, they travel a long way for their job every day and it's just impossible. you either have to find a way to make sure they can somehow join, or it's probably not the model you want, because you don't want, if there's someone who lives right across from the village store and they can't go in because they're not a working member, then that doesn't feel good, and I would not endorse that as the way, you know. But you could find a way in your membership structure, perhaps, to include those types of people, or allow them to do a different kind of work, you know, maybe committee work, or something that they could do, perhaps, that didn't require them to be in the store at a certain time.
So when it started, what was your sort of membership like in the beginning? Was it?
Oh, there was
Thousands.
there was probably a couple hundred people. Yeah, yeah. So it was small. It was small.
Hi Ann, how are you? My name is Mark. Last year I visited the Chester Food Co-op in Philadelphia.
Oh, Tina.
Yeah,
Johnson.
Tina Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah, she was mentored by Joe. Yeah,
Mhm.
which was fantastic. And I also spoke with Joe.
Oh,
But what I was interested in, obviously, Chester Food Co-op in Philadelphia is a very disadvantaged area, and Park Slope is not.
Right.
They had to do a lot of outreach work, and you touched on outreach work in terms of promotion of better diet, health promotion. Do you do anything in the community to promote healthy eating, like cookery demonstrations, or anything that you do in the food co-op in terms of?
The one we do have one cooking class a month. We don't do, members can hold workshops in our meeting space anytime that the meeting space is available. They don't get workshop credit for it, but they can do something. But we've never made it a deliberate effort to teach people, because in our experience, people coming into the store and seeing the food is a conversion of sorts to different types of food. You know, we have people that maybe start off buying less produce, then, you know, over the time they buy more and more, either because they talk to people. I talk to people all the time. I ask people all the time, how do you do this? How do you buy right? You know, how do you cook this weird thing? How do you cook? And then people are like, oh, do this, do that. You know, I think though it is probably harder in communities in which there has been almost no access to fresh food. I think that's hard. The other thing that is hard, and I don't know that this is true in Ireland, the other thing that is hard is that food is very cheap in the United States. Bad food, well, I shouldn't say bad. Yeah. You can buy food fairly cheaply. If you have an outlet in your store, the problem is some people don't have an outlet, but there are outlets that someone on a low income can buy a lot of food with their stretching their dollars, because it's bad food, you know. And the grocery industry, I mean, there has been a downward pressure on suppliers tremendously in the United States. So I think that teaching people, I mean, our way of teaching is basically come in and start exploring what we have more than, I think the other problem with Chester, this is a neighborhood in south of Philly. It's actually a town south of Philly that was historically a very large industrial place that got gutted over the years, and it sort of was left with a very poor African-American population, Chester, Pennsylvania, and they attempted to have a co-op. I think the problem, in particular with Chester, was that not only were they trying in a retail environment in which there was very little other retail, so you had to attract people somewhere into the city where they didn't have anything else. They were also competing often with the big box stores that were on the edge of the city that people took their private cars or took public transportation to, and when you can get, you know, kind of a lot of chicken that's filled with hormones and antibiotics, but you can get a packet of, you know, big packet of wings for $2. How can anyone beat that? You know, I mean, $2 you get like 40 wings. It's amazing, you know. But I mean, we can't beat, you know, we can't beat that. We know the quality is different, but it's a hard situation. Food in America is a very complicated problem because we have an overabundance of food really in America.
Just on to that as well, what we're attempting to do in the LCG, although we're at very early stages, we are community gardening and urban agriculture. It's not the focus of today's session, but we're actively working on it, and we have a collaboration ongoing at the moment to bring a community garden with extensive glass houses to bring it up to spec. And we have started communicating with other community gardens across the city, so we're hoping to do something on that, but it's very early stages yet.
Hi, my name is Anya. I'm a member of LCG, and I'm just wondering, in terms of one of the principles of cooperatives, concern for community, because I suppose we're trying to get our heads around where exactly we need to first, you know, put our energies, but just what type of activities that you do that you would think are specifically around concern for community.
Well, one is our participation with the soup kitchens. That's probably one of our longest sort of involvement with the community is through that. But we also, you know, we do it at various levels. In our neighborhood alone, we have members have adopted, they've formed a committee, and they work on adopting street trees. We have a bunch of street trees, you know, in an urban environment, trees, find it down into the concrete. So they've adopted street trees, they nurture them. We've had a lot of new ones put in our neighborhood, so there's been a lot of care for that. So we feel like that's a sort of a beautification, but also a care for the blocks that the block we are on and the blocks surrounding, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from that. But it goes all the way up to, and we also help some of the community organizations in the neighborhood. We might have a work day with them to actually do some trash pickup, to do some painting, things like that in the neighborhood. But like it goes up to, like, we recently, well, several years ago, we were approached by some farmers about fracking in New York State. That's been a very controversial issue, hydraulic fracking for natural gas. New York State has a huge deposit of it. Some of the farmers and communities from upstate came to us and said, look, we know you buy a lot of food. Please help us. We don't want this thing to happen. And so the members adopted by resolution that we would become an anti-fracking organization. We put a lot of effort behind that. We raised money for some of the people upstate. We wrote amicus briefs on behalf of communities that were trying to fight it. And we publicly took a stand wherever we could. We signed on to everything that anyone who called us up and said, will you sign on to this? The governor is going to say, you know, we did. And so that, you know, some of that, it's also a larger community. We know we have a huge presence in New York State and with the New York State agricultural community. So we wanted to support, we consider them our community too. So that's another way that we do it.
Now before,
Lucan is my name. I'm a member of the Limerick Community Grocery as well, and I'm just curious about how many members show up to your general meetings, and if it tends to be the same membership cohort that come to them all.
No, it doesn't tend to be the same. Depending on sort of the topic, we'll have, on a low month, we have 200, 250. On a popular subject, or our annual meeting, we'll have, you know, 600, 800, 1,200, we've had as high as 1,500. So and it's not the same group, which is a plus and a minus, because if something is discussed at one meeting and voted on at a following meeting, you don't have necessarily the same group listening to both presentations. But it also means that more people actually cycle through the governance process. So we want as many people as possible to participate. So if you only happen to go once or twice a year, that's great, you know. We do give people work slot credit for going twice a year to the meeting, so they can earn like work slot credit by attending the meeting. So yeah.